Midnight Beta Update, Day 18. I have one very important question to ask you as we start today's update. What is your favorite healer? We have no logs to look at today because everybody that I was playing with forgot to log their keys, so I will henceforth be showing you my favorite dungeon from the first 4 dungeons announced in Midnight Season 1. These are the 4 new dungeons. This is the Windrunner Spire. In the previous update, I made a video about how Magister's Terrace, one of the other dungeons, is really not looking so hot. We don't like that one for many reasons, but this one is a perfectly designed Mythic Plus dungeon. In so many ways, I feel like this dungeon is great. I've healed it now. I've tanked it. I've healed it on a few different healers. This is some gameplay of me playing Pres Evoker, kind of learning how to play the new iteration of it. Remember that a lot of specs got very changed going into Midnight, and there's a lot of people who are rightfully so scared and frustrated about some of the differences in their specs, namely mages, etc., etc., etc. But one thing to keep in mind is that we also don't know exactly how those things are going to work until we test them in content. Like the Pres Evokers can theory craft all they want, but until we actually walk into a key, we say, oh, by the way, so we're going to do this, 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 and this, and the other, but etc., etc. Nowadays, I feel pretty good on Pres, but I didn't feel good when I tested Rshaman today. The changes to Rshaman felt like that spec was gutted, and I was really struggling to do HPS, where at least on my Resto Druid or my Pres Evoker, I felt like I had options. I also got to play Holy Paladin briefly, got to try a few different builds of Holy Paladin. Honestly, it felt okay, but mostly today I was healing all day. Healing these dungeons, they are not created equally. Some of these dungeons have very specific checks that I could not pass if I was playing a Resto Shaman. If you ask me, hey, look, there's an HPS check coming right now, which healer would you rather be playing? Oh, it's absolutely not Resto Shaman, I can tell you that. Resto Druid is very overpowered in terms of raw HPS and throughput, and Pres Evoker lies here. Now, one thing I want to point out as we're watching this gameplay, as you can see, my frames are weird. My frames look very interesting, don't they? You can see that when I actually stasis echo my dots properly, we are going to have some interesting looking frames, because as I get all my hots on my target, remember Pres actually has a bunch, not many people play it. That looks pretty crowded, doesn't it? Take a look at my frames right now. I'm having a hard time seeing who's targeted. My dispel is not keybound properly, and because it doesn't work with click casting, you have to double global it in order for that to work. The UI is still currently a little bit of a mess. Overall, there are some DPS that are really performing very well, and there are others that aren't performing as well. I think that it's also important to realize that when we take a look at the top performing DPS, there are specs like this Rshaman, who was currently blasting right before he died just now to a dot plus an overlap of the fire spit, etc., with most likely not pressing a cooldown. But we don't know if he pressed the defensive because I can't track them. I would say that healing feels, one of the reasons healing feels frustrated is I can't tell, right? Like whether people are helping me pressing defensives if they have health potion available. It's a little bit weird as a healer to not have that information available to me. Okay, basically, the UI, when we take a look at it, is pretty bare bones. I do expect them to make a lot of changes. I have been pretty adamant thus far in my testing of not using a single add-on. I haven't been using any sort of healing add-ons, nothing. I have actually 0 add-ons enabled right now whatsoever, which is interesting. I think that moving forward, I might need to get a healing add-on, because if I keep testing healers, the fact that I missed this dispel here, because you saw me, I had to actually go to my bar. I almost let everybody die, and the reason is because I had to actually move, click, double click, boom over here. I kind of wish I missed Cell. Like, I'm finding myself missing Cell at this point, and I do wish that was available. Now, in terms of overperforming DPS, to go back to my previous point, what I want to mention is that there are some specs like Rshaman that really depend on you pulling around their cooldowns, right? Like, you really have to pull for an Elemental Shaman, and that's very important to know. So Elemental Shaman in this particular key might not top damage, because we don't know if we're pulling for him. Like, that in an actual route, that spec shines. Where there's other specs like a Beastmaster Hunter who is damaged pretty much consistently, those specs will shine more. Or Devourer Demon Hunter doesn't actually rely as much on his cooldowns comparatively. They have it more frequently. So you'll have some specs that are shining a little bit more than others. And I do think that's important to mention. We don't know. Tuning is not final. There's so many things. I'm overhealing this because this is like, oh man, I'm like, is there going to be a lot of damage here? Is there not going to be a lot of damage here? But overall, this is my favorite dungeon. There are solid pulls. It feels like a really good Mythic Plus dungeon. I want to give this dungeon its actual review, its proper time of day at some point. So let's focus on just how the UI feels, etc. On some of my healers, and I don't know why this is, if I fast forward here, there is a dot from this pull. This is a nice pull here, right? There's a dot that comes out on my party. I actually had no clue that this dot existed when I was playing my Resto Druid and my Resto Shaman. I just knew people were taking damage. On my Prez Evoker, at least I can see it. And that's a pretty hefty dot you can see there. At least I knew it was happening. I don't know why it's inconsistent. Also, my Prez Evoker, and I can't get rid of it, also is showing random buffs and debuffs on here, etc., etc., etc. So I'm looking forward to the UI improvements for sure, but at this point, I think I'm just going to download an add-on for healing, and I do think that maybe when you tune into the next update, my frames will be looking a little bit cleaner, a little bit better. I will be going over specific dungeon guides and routing and kind of what we learned about the dungeons, how to heal them, how to tank them, etc., like stuff like that on my Patreon. I've just filmed right before this a massive 37-minute tanking guide, if you're interested in that, about which tank you should pick depending on your playstyle and what feels right for you, going over a basic overview of all of that. I've just put that on Patreon. It's available for free. All you have to do is make an account and sign up there. And eventually I'll put that to YouTube members as well, just because I think it's a really cool video and I worked pretty hard on it. This is more of an update just to go over, this is how the game is feeling. It honestly doesn't look that bad. Could I fix my cooldown manager? Yeah. Could I make this a little bit cleaner? Absolutely. But most people are using add-ons. They're not using the base UI. The vast majority of players right now are using add-ons to play the game. I kind of wish this wasn't the case, but it totally is, and that's all right. So basically, nothing changes except that we get, at the moment, a slightly worse version of what we had before. I'm hoping they cook on it a little bit more to see kind of how things feel, etc. As of right now, the game is fun. Even though things might not be the most balanced, even though people are clearly learning mechanics, they've never been here before, she didn't know she had to move out of that mechanic like right away, etc. It feels fun to do beta keys. And I think that that will carry forward going into Season 1. I do think they have to look at Magister's Terrace. This dungeon, I want to replay it. I wouldn't mind if tomorrow I spent the entire day playing only this dungeon. I actually would. I think this dungeon is mega cool. I really do want to give it the time of day. I'm just looking at one of the VODs from today. Man, is this dungeon cool. The Windrunner Spire just feels like I really like this dungeon, actually. This is a good dungeon. You have choices of where to go, etc. I like this dungeon. This is a good one. But anyways, that's my update. If you want more of this content, feel free to find me on the Patreon and support me there. It is a new project of mine, and I am trying to do more of this content creation business. Waha! I just want to put out cool stuff to help the WoW community, and maybe I can make some money while I do it. But before that, I will also be putting out all these updates if you're curious about any more stuff like this and just kind of want to see what the general gameplay of Mythic Plus looks like. Feel free to follow and like and subscribe on the YouTube, because I'll be putting out more updates every day based on my beta testing. I will be eventually posting logs as well in my Discord and this channel, because I want to go over kind of what DPS are starting to flesh out and look good. After the last round of notes, we have some very clear outliers, but that will be for tomorrow's update. So that'll be all for today, and I'll see you then. All right, bye-bye.